All right, let's get into some deeper classifications of our matter. We're going to talk about pure substances in relation to mixtures, and we're going to break pure substances down into elements and compounds. And you'll know you've got this when you can kind of, based on a description or maybe given a formula or something like that, you can label something as being an element, compound, or mixture. Okay, so matter can be split into two different groups, either pure substances or mixtures. The definition of these is defined on whether or not you can break the substance down into smaller components using physical methods. Now, we'll talk about some more detail in terms of physical methods, but physical methods are just like a simple filtering or separating process. There's no chemical reaction taking place. You don't have to change the chemical makeup of the different components in order to get them separated. So like a pure substance, it has its name being pure because it's pretty much broken down as much as it can be, with the exception of like actually throwing it through a chemical reaction. All right, so examples of pure substances are elements and compounds. And then mixtures are really just a combo of pure substances that are kind of taking up at the same space, so you can actually easily separate them. But there are two types of mixtures, homogeneous mixtures and heterogeneous mixtures. We will talk more about mixtures in detail in the next lesson. So just a basic kind of practice you want to know here, what is a substance that can be easily filtered or split into blue, green, and black components? So just thinking about what we defined pure substance and mixture as on the slide before, the ones that can be easily broken down and split into other things, those are going to be your mixtures. All right. So elements are pure substances, and they are made up of atoms of the exact same kind. So something is defined as an element if all of its particles are from the same atom. All right, so like a piece of solid iron is elemental iron. Oxygen tank has elemental oxygen on the inside. All right, so all of the atoms of that substance are the exact same. All right, so everything on the periodic table, when it's on its own, is an element. That's why it's called the periodic table of elements. All right, now looking at this, just a few things, like how can you tell the elements apart from each other based on their symbols? All right, they have different letters. All right, there's more than 26, so some of your elements have 2-letter abbreviations. All right, like beryllium or iron, or I think that's arsenic. All right, but you'll notice that if there are 2 letters, the second letter is always lowercase. It's really, really important that when you write out formulas and things like that, you're conscious of that. Capitalization matters. The first letter in the symbol name must be capitalized. If there's a second letter, it must be lowercase. All right, because that's going to be how you can tell things like carbon apart from carbon and oxygen apart from cobalt. All right, so capitalization really, really important with your elements. Compounds, on the other hand, are atoms of different kinds that are bonded together. Right? And they're also going to be bonded together in a specific ratio. All right, so you can kind of, a visual of what this looks like, so like water is H2O, and it's 2 hydrogens bonded to an oxygen. Or carbon dioxide is CO2. It's always 1 carbon with 2 oxygens on it. All right, so compounds, elements are like as pure as a pure substance can get. Compounds are still considered pure substances because the only way you can split these atoms apart from each other is via a chemical reaction. All right, there's no like simple filtering or grouping that you can do to get them apart. You have to physically put it through, or I guess chemically put it through a chemical reaction to get them to break down. All right, so it's not easy to get compounds to break into its individual atoms. That's why they're still considered pure substances. So, looking at the examples here, all right, would you identify these as elements or compounds? All right, just thinking about our definitions. All right, if it's an element, there's only one type of atom. If it's compounds, two or more types of atoms. All right, so like, for example, this one, you've got H's and O's, that's going to be a compound. All right, that is your water, your H2O. All right, this one here, we've got two O's. That's our elemental oxygen. All right, here we've got C's and H's. Formula is actually CH4. All right, since there's different kinds of atoms, more than one kind of atom, that's going to be a compound. All right, how about this last one? What would you say this is? Hopefully you said element. So something to talk about in relation to compounds is their formulas. Right, so compounds have specific formulas that tell you the ratio of the elements present. All right, so just some things that you've got to be able to read and understand when you see these formulas is what these numbers and symbols are telling you. All right, so the letters are telling you which elements are present, what atoms are there. All right, so which atoms? Subscripts, the small numbers, all right, they tell you how many of each atom. All right, so like this 4 applies to the oxygen. All right, this 2 applies to the hydrogen. All right, and if there's no number at all, like in the case of the sulfur, all right, really what that is it's like there's 1. It's just something to save some time when writing out formulas in chemistry is if there's 1 of something, we usually skip writing the 1. All right, because I wouldn't bother to put the symbol S into this formula unless there was 1 S. So if you see the symbol, that means there's 1 of them. If you see the symbol plus a subscript, then it's however many the subscript is. All right. Then the other thing that you may see is going to be a big number out front. All right. We call these coefficients. And what they mean, what they're telling you is that you have 3 molecules of H2SO4. All right, so really it's like you have this. So another way you can think of these coefficients is think of it as being like parentheses. And that 3 is going to be multiplied by everything. All right, because there's 3 of the whole molecule. So let's put some of these to the test. All right, this formula here, capital C, capital O. How many different atoms, how many different kinds of atoms are present in that? All right, so since they're both capital letters, that means this is carbon and oxygen. All right, so there are 2 atoms present. How about the next one? Big C, little o. All right, so that tells us something different. All right, the little o means that that's part of the same elemental symbol as the big C. So if you go to the periodic table and the element that has big C, little o, that's going to be it's 1 atom of cobalt. All right, so this is why your capitalization really matters. So 5H2O. All right, that means you have 5 water molecules. So how many hydrogens do you have total? So 1 water molecule has 2 hydrogens. So if you have 5 of them, it's going to be 5 times 2 equals 10 hydrogens. All right. So next one, this is a glucose molecule. So let's see, how many oxygens are in a glucose molecule? All right, it's going to be that 6 following the O, so there's 6 oxygens. All right, now this last one, we've got CuSO4. I want you to tell me how many atoms total there are in this formula. All right. So what that is you got to add up how many of each atom exists. Right? So there's 1 copper, 1 sulfur, 4 oxygens, or 6 atoms total. So those are the types of questions you might see related to this.